8 years. That's a long time. A lot can happen over the course of 8 years. My first visit to Death Valley was in March of 2009. It was only my second solo photography trip and the first trip where I left all my digital cameras behind and focused entirely on film. I was still getting familiar with metering, filters, and composition. But despite my best efforts, that trip was a failure from a photographic standpoint. All the images were horrible, but I didn't beat myself up over it. It was on that trip that I learned how important it is to get to know location and come up with a plan on how best to capture it. What I gained from that trip was a lot of knowledge about Death Valley and what to expect. I put that knowledge to use the following year and walked away with several portfolio grade photos, this time on 8x10 film. I've learned a lot over the years, and now it's very rare for me to walk away from a trip empty-handed. I'm stubborn like that, and I suppose it's a good thing. It's important to be observant, to be flexible, and to make the most of what Mother Nature has to offer. I enjoy the process of getting to know a location and seeing it during a variety of conditions, and this year was no exception. Last winter, I spent about a week in Zion, so my trip to Death Valley only lasted a few days. I was worn out and beat down at the end of the trip, so I didn't really have the will to keep going. This year, I've returned with the goal of giving Death Valley the attention it deserves. This is a story of my winter of 2017 trip to Death Valley National Park, a dusty land that is as beautiful as it is vast and as harsh as it is beautiful. It was a tough trip for me, and some might call it a disaster, but it wasn't a bad trip. The adversity I faced only made me work harder, and I walked away with some photos I'm very proud of. One thing is clear though, this is a trip I'll remember for a very long time. So I've reached the area where the pavement ends, and now we're going to start on some of the rougher roads. And the tires I have on my 4Runner, they are E-rated tires, which means they have a really stiff sidewall, which is good when it comes to protecting the sidewalls from punctures and stuff, but also means it makes a really, really stiff ride on anything but pavement. And the road is going to start with stuff with just kind of a gravelized road, not a big deal, but eventually I'll get to some areas with some sand, some rocks, and in order to make this a palatable road, I need to air the tires down. So I have these deflators that I use. Basically, I just thread them into the valve stems on each tire, and then that will take the pressure down to somewhere around 16 PSI, which gives me a nice, smooth ride. Now that is gonna make for a much nicer ride. So I'm just kind of working my way along this road here, and I use road in loose context because it's pretty beat up in places. There's a few areas that got washed out, and not gonna lie, there's a few sketchy areas here and there, but it is calmed down now. Now it's just kind of a gravelized road, and pretty soon we're gonna probably get some more washed out areas because you'll run into an area where we're crossing across a alluvial fan. But this is all part of the adventure. To say that these roads are unmarked is a bit of an understatement. I studied the satellite maps for a while before heading out here, and I had a pretty good feeling as far as what I was getting into. But that being said, once you get on the ground, it all looks different. And I ended up finding my way, but the road that gets here at first, it does not look like a road at all. I had to look for a while to find evidence that anyone had been here recently. But I'm pretty excited because my destination's in view, and pretty excited to check out some sand dunes. And this is a place I'll call home for by at least a few days.
Looks like I'm the only one here. Now I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do. Maybe shoot some sand. Get some lunch. So it is going on 2 p.m. right now, and I already got my campsite set up. Got a solar panel that feeds power to a thermal cooler, which helps keep all my film cool back in my truck, which is nice. Also have a solar shower set up, so I got that sitting on the top of my truck. But now I am just kind of wandering around here. This is a brand new location for me, and it took a fair amount of effort to get here. It wasn't as though it was a extremely long road, but more so that the road was not very well defined, and there were some decisions to be made from here to there, and I kind of figured it out, even though, you know, I spent time looking at it on all the satellite maps. But needless to say, I am the only one here right now. It is quite windy, so I'm not bringing my 8x10 with me into the field right now. It's got my scouting pack because I want to get to know this place. I want to kind of get a feel for it. And this is definitely going to be more of a sunrise location, which is good because sunrise is typically more calm. Afternoons and evenings can sometimes have a little more wind to them. But I'm going to cover a lot of ground today, see what I could find, and see if I can start coming up with some ideas of what I would like to get some photos of in the next few days or so. But pretty awesome to be here in Death Valley. So I don't know if I mentioned, but it's a little bit windy. I'll spin you around here. You can see I'm climbing up the dune crest here. This is not the sort of weather that I'd be able to take any photos in. Even video is really tough. Woo! This is, it's invigorating, but I gotta find a subject. There's a lot of sand here. Who'd have thought? So I think I might have found something that could be interesting. So if you look over my shoulder here, you see this dune crest, and this crest spans from one hillside to the other. It's kind of a bridge more than it is a big pile of sand, which kind of goes up one side and then down the other, making like a big pyramid. So I mean, it has a definite sort of pyramid shape, but just along this ridge as it spans like a bridge. But I think this might make for an interesting subject in the morning, because the sun's gonna come up from back over my shoulder over there. And so this side over here is gonna be in the morning light. This side over here is gonna be in shade. And then I think the far hill over there is gonna get some morning light, while the mountains in the background are in shade. So it might have kind of an interesting look to it, but I don't wanna walk much further on here because I don't wanna trample this dune. I mean, it's really windy right now, so it's gonna get reset and my footprints are gonna go away, but I really don't wanna trample it. So I'm gonna actually walk down into that bowl down over there, walk to the other side of the dune, and then see what I can see from that side over there. But pretty cool to at least find a subject that might be very promising to shoot in the morning. Well, it's going on evening time now, and kind of lost track of how long I was wandering around the dunes. It was quite a few hours. And I covered a lot of ground. I didn't get a chance to see everything, but I did get a chance to see a lot of it. And I was pretty happy, at least I found that one composition with the dune ridge. So I'll check that out tomorrow morning to see how that looks. On the smaller kind of intimate landscape department, there was some interesting areas with some really cool looking rocks, some really tortured, weathered rocks, had some really good colors to them. So there could be some possibilities for that as well. But I think tomorrow the plan will be to get up well before sunrise, hike out to the dunes, and see how that one dune ridge looks like in the morning. Everything's gonna look quite a bit different, so I'm just kind of guessing how things are gonna be. But it's been a productive day, driving all the way out here to Death Valley. A little bit of a journey along the way. And now time to go back to camp, grab some dinner, get things all set up for tomorrow. Macaroni and cheese, the breakfast of champs and 4-year-olds.
If you love this content and want to help support my journey, you can do so by subscribing to my YouTube channel, telling a friend, or sending a voluntary contribution of just $24 a year with PayPal or Patreon. I depend on the generous support of people like you to produce this ad-free content. For more information on how to support me, please visit the donations section of my website. Thanks in advance for your support.